The servers were melting down. 100 million was evaporating by the second. The greatest minds at Vertex Dynamics were frozen in panic, watching their empire crumble on a laptop screen. Then, a 24-year-old waitress named Nina, holding a tray of dirty martini glasses, leaned over the billionaire CEO's shoulder. She didn't ask for permission. She typed 4 lines of code and hit enter. In 3 seconds, the disaster stopped. But the real shock wasn't that a waitress fixed the unfixable. It was who she really was and the dark secret the company's vice president was trying to bury. You are not going to believe what happens next. The air inside Le Jardin, Manhattan's most exclusive French restaurant, smelled of truffle oil, old money, and fear. It was a rainy Tuesday in November. Outside, the city was awash of gray slush and honking taxis. Inside, beneath the golden glow of crystal chandeliers, the most powerful man in Silicon Valley was sweating through his bespoke Italian suit. Liam Blackwood, the 32-year-old CEO of Vertex Dynamics, stared at his tablet as if it were a bomb counting down to 0. He was handsome in a sharp, angular way, with dark hair and eyes that usually held a spark of genius. Tonight, they only held panic. "Talk to me, Marcus," Liam snapped, not looking up. "Tell me we're clear for the launch tomorrow." Sitting opposite him was Marcus Thorne, the chief technology officer, a man who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Next to Marcus sat Jessica Vane, the vice president of operations. Jessica was striking with icy blonde hair and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She was currently swirling a glass of Pinot Noir, looking bored by the panic around her. "We have a slight instability in the kernel," Marcus stammered, wiping his forehead with a linen napkin. "The AI integration. It's rejecting the firewall protocols, but we're patching it. It's just a glitch." "A glitch?" Liam's voice was low, dangerous. "Investors have put $100 million into Project Ether. If the AI fails during the live demo tomorrow morning, Vertex stock goes to 0. I don't want glitches, Marcus. I want perfection." Standing 3 feet away, invisible to them, was Nina. Nina Jenkins was 24 years old, though her eyes looked older. She wore the standard Le Jardin uniform, a crisp white button-down, a black vest that was slightly too big, and a black skirt. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight, practical bun. She was serving the table of tech giants. She was furniture, a robot designed to refill water glasses and disappear. She moved silently, pouring sparkling water into Jessica Vane's glass. "Careful," Jessica snapped, pulling her designer clutch away, even though Nina hadn't spilled a drop. "This bag costs more than your tuition. Watch where you're pouring." "Apologies, ma'am," Nina said softly. Her voice was calm, controlled. She was used to people like Jessica. Nina retreated to the shadows near the service station, clutching the water pitcher. Her feet throbbed. She had been on a double shift since morning. Her rent was late, her landlord was threatening eviction, and she had exactly $40 in her bank account. She watched the table. She knew exactly who Liam Blackwood was. Everyone knew he was the boy wonder of the tech world, but Nina noticed something the others didn't. She watched the scrolling lines of code on the open laptop sitting in the middle of the table. From where she stood, the text was small, but Nina had 20/20 vision. She squinted. "Error 404. Memory leak. Sector 7. She frowned. "That's not a firewall issue," she thought. "That's a recursive loop in the subroutine. They're patching the wrong hole." She shook her head. "Not my business," she told herself. "I pour water. I clear plates. I go home." She had left that life behind 3 years ago. The coding, the pressure, the brilliance. It was buried deep along with the memories of the accident. Now she was just Nina, the waitress. "More wine," Jessica Vane called out, snapping her fingers without looking at Nina. Nina gritted her teeth, adjusted her vest, and walked back to the table. As she reached for the bottle, Marcus's phone buzzed violently on the table. He picked it up, listened for seconds, and his face went white. "Liam," Marcus whispered, "it's the server farm in Ashburn. The cooling systems just went offline. The AI is overheating." Liam slammed his hand on the table, rattling the silverware. "Shut it down. Remote access. Shut it down now." "I can't." Marcus typed furiously on the laptop. "The system is locked. It's rewriting its own encryption keys. It's locking us out. The restaurant fell silent. The other diners turned to look. If those cores melt, we lose the source code, Liam said, his voice trembling. We lose everything. Jessica Vane looked at her watch. We'll fix it, Marcus. Stop being bar dramatic. I'm trying, Marcus yelled, sweat dripping onto the keyboard. It's a runaway process. I can't kill it. Elelenina stood there, the wine bottle in her hand. She looked at the screen. The lines of red code were scrolling faster now. She recognized the pattern immediately. It wasn't a malfunction. It was a logic trap. Someone had planted it. The countdown on the screen showed the temperature rising. Core temp 98, 99, critical failure imminent. Liam Blackwood put his head in his hands. The dream was over. Years of work, millions of dollars about to burn because of a code error they couldn't find. Elenena's heart hammered against her ribs. She shouldn't get involved. She needed to stay invisible. If she stepped in, questions would be asked. Questions she didn't want to answer. But she looked at Liam's face. He looked broken. Do it, a voice inside her whispered. Elelenena took a step forward. Excuse me, she said. Liam didn't hear her. Marcus was hyperventilating. Excuse me, Elelenena said louder. Jessica Vane looked up, her eyes narrowing. Not now. Can't you see we're in a crisis? Go away. It's not the firewall, Elelenena said, her voice cutting through the panic. It's the recursive loop in the BIOS and bridge. You have to kill the parent process, not the child. The table went dead silent. Liam Blackwood slowly lifted his head. He looked at the waitress. He looked at her cheap uniform, her tired eyes, the wine bottle in her hand. What did you say? Liam asked. You're trying to patch the leak, Elelenena said, pointing a slender finger at the screen. But the leak is a decoy. The loop is feeding on the patch. Stop patching it. Isolate line 452 and execute a forced garbage collection. Marcus stared at her, his mouth open. Who are you? She's a waitress, Marcus, Jessica scoffed, laughing cruelly. She probably thinks Java is a type of coffee bean. Ignore her, security. Get this girl away from our table. The restaurant manager, a stout man named Mr. Henderson, came rushing over looking furious. Elelenena, what are you doing bothering the guests? I'm so sorry, Mr. Blackwood. She's leaving right now. Elelenena, you're fired. Get out. Mr. Henderson grabbed Elelenena's arm roughly. Wait, Liam said. Liam looked at the screen. The temperature read 102. They had seconds before the hardware fried. He looked back at Elelenena. There was something in her eyes, not fear, certainty. Let her go, Liam commanded. Mr. Henderson froze. Liam turned the laptop toward Elelenena. You have 10 seconds. If you're wrong, you'll never work in this city again. If you're right, just save my company. Jessica gasped. Liam, are you insane? She's a servant. Elelenena didn't hesitate. She put the wine bottle down on the white tablecloth. She didn't sit. She leaned over the table, her hand hovering over the keyboard. She closed her eyes for a split second, inhaling the scent of expensive cologne and impending disaster. Then her fingers moved. The sound of Elelena's typing was different from Marcus's frantic pounding. It was rhythmic, precise, like a pianist playing a complex chord. Click, clack, click, clack. She didn't use the mouse. She brought up the command terminal. The black box covered the fancy graphical interface. Sudo kill 9 PID 8842. Bypass oath check. Root cluster beta A force power. She's deleting the safety protocols, Marcus shrieked, reaching out to stop her. She's going to brick the mainframe. Don't touch her, Liam roared. He was watching the code. He was an engineer at heart, and he saw what she was doing. She wasn't fighting the fire. She was cutting off the oxygen. Elenena's eyes darted across the lines of code. There it is, she thought. The malicious syntax. It wasn't a mistake. It was buried deep in the initialization script. Someone had told the AI to consume its own memory until it died. She typed one final command, purge. She hit enter with a sharp snap. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The red warning box on the screen pulsed. Critical failure, critical failure. Jessica smirked. Well done, Liam. You just let the help destroy your legacy. I hope you have a good lawyer. Then the screen blinked. The red turned to green. System stable, core temp dropping, 95, 80, 65. The fans on the laptop, which had been screaming like jet engines, whirred down to a gentle hum. Elena straightened up, smoothing her apron. She felt the adrenaline crash, the familiar shake in her hands that she tried to hide. She stepped back, picking up the wine bottle again. The instability is gone, Elena said quietly. But you should check the logs for whoever accessed the terminal last night. The loop was manually inserted. Silence. Absolute suffocating silence. Marcus Thorne was staring at the screen, his jaw practically on the tablecloth. He ran a diagnostic. It's clean. The load is balanced. The efficiency is up 40%. How is that even possible? Liam Blackwood stood up. He was a tall man, 6'2", and he towered over Elena. He looked at the laptop, then at her. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Who are you? Well, Liam asked, his voice intense. You're not just a waitress. Nobody writes syntax like that. That was ghost protocol, level coding. Elena's face paled. She looked down at her shoes. I just read a lot, sir. I need to get back to work. Mr. Henderson said I'm fired, so I should go clear my locker. She turned to leave. You're not fired, Liam said, stepping around the table to block her path, and you're certainly not going back to clearing lockers. You just saved me $100 million in 30 seconds. It was luck, Elena mumbled, trying to step around him. Luck doesn't know the kernel architecture of a proprietary AI, Liam countered. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a sleek black metal business card. I don't care what your story is. I want you at Vertex Dynamics tomorrow morning. Name your price. Elena looked at the card. It was tempting. God, it was tempting to touch a keyboard again, to be someone again. But she remembered the promise she made to herself. No more tech, no more targets on my back. I can't, she whispered. Why? Liam demanded. Because, Jessica Vane interrupted, standing up and smoothing her dress. She walked over to Elena, looking her up and down with sneering disgust. Because she knows her place, Liam. Look at her, it was a fluke. She probably saw a YouTube video or something. Don't embarrass the company by hiring a stray. Jessica turned to Elena, her eyes cold. Here. She pulled a $100 bill from her purse and crumpled it up, tossing it at Elena's chest. The bill hit Elena and fell to the floor. Thanks for the trick, Jessica said. Now go clean up table 7. Someone spilled soup. The humiliation burned Elena's cheeks. She looked at the crumpled money on the floor. She looked at Liam, who looked shocked by Jessica's cruelty. Elena didn't pick up the money. She looked Jessica dead in the eye. It wasn't a YouTube video, Elena said, her voice still. And checking the logs isn't a suggestion. It's a warning. Someone in your executive suite wants Project Ether to fail. Elena turned and walked away, heading straight for the kitchen. She didn't look back. Liam stared at her retreating figure. Then he looked at Jessica. Pick it up, Liam said coldly. Excuse me? Jessica blinked. The money, Liam said. Pick it up. Liam, don't be ridiculous. Pick it up. Jessica's face flushed red. Stiffly, she bent down and retrieved the bill. Liam snatched his phone. He dialed his head of security. Ray, it's Liam. I need you to pull the surveillance footage from Le Jardin restaurant. Now, and Ray, find out everything you can about a waitress named Elena. I want to know where she lives, where she went to school, and why a genius is serving pasta for minimum wage. Liam looked back at the kitchen door where Elena had vanished. Marcus, Liam said, open the logs, check last night. Marcus typed. A moment later, he gasped. She was right, there's a login. Someone disabled the safety remotely. Whose login was it? Liam asked. Marcus hesitated, his face turning pale as he looked at Jessica. It's encrypted. Marcus lied quickly, closing the window. But Liam saw the hesitation. We're not launching tomorrow, Liam announced. What? Jessica shrieked. We have to. The press is ready. We're not launching, Liam said, grabbing his coat. Not until I find that waitress. She's the only one I trust. The rain had turned into a torrential downpour by the time Elena reached her apartment in Hell's Kitchen. It wasn't really an apartment. It was a glorified closet above a 24-hour laundromat. The neon sign outside buzzed with a sound like an angry hornet, flashing pink light through her thin curtains every few seconds. Elena locked the door, 3 locks top to bottom, and slid down against the wood, exhaling a breath she felt she'd been holding since she walked out of Le Jardin. She looked at her hands. They were shaking. "Stupid," she whispered to the empty room. "Stupid, stupid, Elena." She pulled her phone out of her pocket. It was an old model, a burner phone she bought with cash. She navigated to a secure browser, routed through 3 different proxies, and typed in a search query: Vertex Dynamics stock price. It was holding steady, but the news forums were buzzing. Rumors of halted launch. CEO Liam Blackwood seen leaving gala early. She tossed the phone onto her mattress. She shouldn't have touched that keyboard. She had broken her one rule: stay invisible. 3 years ago, Elena Jenkins didn't exist. Back then, her name was Elena Jensen, the lead architect for Nebula, a secure cloud startup that had been the darling of the tech world. She was 21, a prodigy worth millions on paper. Then came the data breach, the federal investigation, the missing funds found in an offshore account under her name. She had been framed, perfectly, meticulously framed. She lost everything: her reputation, her money, her freedom. She avoided prison only because the evidence was circumstantial. But she was blacklisted. The tech world didn't just fire her, they erased her. She had changed her name, dyed her hair, and moved to the one place nobody looked for a genius coder: a waitressing job in Midtown. She walked over to her tiny kitchenette to boil water for instant noodles. That was when she heard it, a heavy knock on the door. Elena froze. Nobody visited her. Her landlord always texted. She stayed silent, hoping they would go away. "Lelena," a voice called out. It wasn't her landlord. The voice was deep, authoritative, and terrifyingly familiar. "I know you're in there. The light is on." It was Liam Blackwood. Elena's heart slammed against her ribs. She looked at the fire escape window. Run. No, it was pouring rain, and if a billionaire like Liam found her here, he had resources she couldn't outrun. She unlocked the door, leaving the chain on, and cracked it open. Liam stood in the grim hallway, dripping wet. His expensive Italian suit was soaked, his hair plastered to his forehead. He looked out of place, like a diamond sitting in a gutter. Behind him stood a massive man in a black trench coat, his security detail. "Ray, how did you find me?" Elena asked, her voice tight. "You filled out a W-2 form for the restaurant," Liam said. "Public records." "Public? Can I come in?" "No," Elena said. "Go away, Mr. Blackwood. I fixed your computer." "We're even." "We're not even," Liam said, pressing his hand against the doorframe. "You fixed the code, but you left me with a bigger problem. You said someone inside my company is sabotaging me. I need to know who." "Ask your CTO," Elena snapped. "Ask the blonde woman who threw money at me. I'm just a waitress." "You are not a waitress," Liam said, his eyes locking onto hers. "I had Ray run a deep background check. Elena Jenkins doesn't exist before 2022. No high school records, no birth certificate in that name. You're a ghost." He paused, lowering his voice. "But I recognize the coding style, the efficiency, the aggressive garbage collection. It reminded me of the Nebula source code." Elena slammed the door shut. She fumbled with the locks, panic rising in her throat. He knew. He suspected. "Elena," Liam shouted through the wood. "Open the door. I'm not here to expose you. I'm here to hire you." "I don't want your job," she screamed back. "They are going to destroy Vertex," Liam yelled. "If Project Ether fails tomorrow, 5,000 people lose their jobs. The technology, the medical AI that could cure cancer, it gets buried. Whoever sabotaged the code doesn't just want money. They want to kill the company." Elena leaned her forehead against the door. Medical AI, that was why she had liked Vertex. They weren't just building chatbots. They were building systems to diagnose rare diseases. "I can pay you," Liam said, his voice softer now. 1 million, cash, off the books, no paper trail, Enough to disappear for real this time, or enough to fight back. Elena stared at the peeling paint on her door. $1 million. It was freedom. It was a lawyer who could clear her name, but it was dangerous. Elena, Liam said, please, I have nobody else. My VP acts like she owns the place. My CTO is incompetent, and my board is ready to fire me. I am alone in a room full of sharks. Slowly, Elena undid the chain. She opened the door. The apartment smelled of damp wool and old ramen. Liam stepped inside, looking around the tiny, squalid room. He didn't sneer. He looked sad. 1 million, Elena said, crossing her arms. And I work remotely. I don't go to the office. No, Liam said, shaking his head. The sabotage is internal, hardwired into the servers. You need physical access to the mainframe. You have to come in. If I walk into Vertex, people will ask questions. Let them, Liam said, a hard edge returning to his voice. You won't be Elena the waitress. You'll be my personal consultant. Anyone who has a problem with you answers to me. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a checkbook. He wrote a check, tore it out, and placed it on her wobbly kitchen table. $500,000. That's the advance, Liam said. Be downstairs at 7 a.m. Ray will pick you up. Liam turned to leave but stopped at the door. By the way, Jessica Vane, the woman who humiliated you. She's been trying to get my job for 2 years. If we find proof she's behind this, you won't just get paid. You'll get the pleasure of watching me fire her. Elena looked at the check. Then she looked at Liam. For the first time in 3 years, she felt a spark of something dangerous. Ambition. 7 a.m., Elena said, but don't be late. The Vertex Dynamics headquarters was a fortress of glass and steel in downtown Manhattan, piercing the sky like a needle. A black convoy of SUVs pulled up to the curb. Paparazzi were already swarming the entrance, cameras flashing. The rumor mill was churning. Was the launch canceled? Was Liam Blackwood stepping down? The door of the lead SUV opened. Liam stepped out, looking impeccable in a navy suit, sunglasses shielding his eyes. The cameras clicked furiously. Then he turned and offered a hand to the person inside. Elena stepped out. She had been up all night. She wasn't wearing her waitress uniform anymore. She wore a sharp charcoal gray blazer she had bought at a 24-hour thrift store paired with dark jeans and combat boots. She had let her hair down, cascading over her shoulders in waves. She didn't look like a servant. She looked like a weapon. Keep your head up, Liam murmured as they walked through the gauntlet of reporters. Don't look at the cameras. Look at the door. They swept into the lobby, past the stunned security guards who recognized Liam but stared in confusion at the girl beside him. Elevator? Penthouse? Liam commanded. As the doors closed, the silence in the elevator was thick. Are you ready? Liam asked. I'm ready to code, Elena said, clutching her laptop bag, a battered thing containing a rig she had built herself from scrap parts. But I'm not good at the corporate politics. I'll handle the politics, Liam said. You handle the hunt. The elevator dinged at the 50th floor, the executive suite. The glass doors slid open to reveal a chaotic scene. People were running with papers. Phones were ringing off the hook. In the center of the room, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, was Jessica Vane. She was screaming at an assistant. I don't care what the press release says. Tell them it's a hardware upgrade. She spun around as Liam entered, her face twisting into a mask of relief that quickly soured into shock when she saw Elena. Liam, Jessica said, her voice dripping with poison. You're back, and you brought the catering staff. Marcus Thorne, the CTO, was sitting at a conference table looking pale and nauseous. He jumped up. Liam, the board is calling. They want to know why we haven't initiated the boot sequence. The boot sequence is on hold, Liam announced, his voice booming across the open plan office. The room went silent. Liam placed a hand on Elena's shoulder. This is Elena. She is the new lead auditor for Project Ether. She has full clearance, full admin access. If she asks for a file, you give it to her. If she asks for your passwords, you give them to her. Jessica laughed, a harsh, barking sound. You're joking. This is the girl who spilled water on me last night. She's a nobody, Liam. You're going to let a stranger audit our proprietary code? This is a security breach. Call them, Liam challenged. Tell them that while you were drinking Pinot Noir, this nobody fixed the kernel panic that your team missed. He turned to Elena. It's all yours. Elena didn't look at Jessica. She walked straight to the main server terminal, a massive console in the center of the room. She plugged in her laptop. Hey, Marcus protested, rushing over. You can't just plug an external device into the... Sit down, Marcus, Elena said. She didn't shout, but her voice had the cold authority of an expert. She typed a command, and the massive wall of screens in the office flickered. The Vertex logo was replaced by a stream of raw data. I'm initiating a deep dive trace on the login, Elena announced. I'm also running a heuristic analysis on all outgoing data packets from the last 48 hours. Jessica marched over, her heels clicking aggressively on the marble floor. She leaned in close to Elena, lowering her voice so only Elena could hear. I don't know what game you're playing, little girl, Jessica hissed, but you are out of your depth. People who poke their noses where they don't belong tend to get hurt. Walk away while you still have legs to walk on. Elena stopped typing. She turned her head slowly to look at Jessica. Are you threatening me, Ms. Vane? Elena asked loudly. Everyone looked over. Jessica stepped back, flustered. I'm warning you about the complexity of the system. You'll break something. I've already found something, Elena said, her eyes glued to the screen. The room held its breath. What is it? Liam asked, stepping closer. Elena pointed at a string of hex code. The sabotage wasn't just a logic bomb to overheat the servers. That was a distraction. While the system was overheating, a background script was executing. Doing what? Marcus asked, wiping sweat from his upper lip. Exfiltrating data, Elena said. Someone wasn't trying to destroy the AI. They were trying to steal it. They wanted to create a backup of the source code, send it to an external server, and then crash the original, so Vertex would be left with nothing. She typed faster. And I can trace where the data went. Jessica Vane's face went rigid. She looked at her phone, typed a quick message, and slid it into her pocket. It's a glitch, Jessica said quickly. A reporting error. Liam, stop this charade. We have investors waiting. Wait, Elena said. I have the IP address of the receiver. A map popped up on the big screen. A red line traced the path of the stolen data. It bounced from New York to London, then to the Cayman Islands. And finally, Elena frowned. It bounced back, Elena whispered. What do you mean? Liam asked. The data didn't leave the city, Elena said. It was routed through a VPN to look like it went overseas, but the final destination is local. The red dot on the map zoomed in. It wasn't in the Cayman Islands. It was in Manhattan. It was 10 blocks away, at the headquarters of Omnicorp. The room erupted in gasps. Omnicorp was Vertex's biggest rival. Their CEO, ruthless billionaire Silas Drake, had been trying to buy Vertex for years. Omnicorp, Liam whispered, his face darkening with rage. They're trying to steal my life's work. And, Elena added, her finger hovering over the enter key, I can see which user authorized the transfer. She hit the key. A user ID flashed on the screen. User M. Thorne. Every head in the room turned to Marcus Thorne. Marcus stumbled back, knocking over his chair. No, that's not possible. I didn't. I swear I didn't. The log doesn't lie, Marcus, Liam said, his voice deadly quiet. He signaled to Ray, the security chief. Get him. It's a setup, Marcus screamed as two guards grabbed his arms. Someone used my credentials. Liam, please. I've been with you since the garage days. I wouldn't do this. Get him out of here, Liam barked as Marcus was dragged out, kicking and screaming. The office buzzed with shock. Jessica Vane stood perfectly still, her face unreadable. She walked over to Liam. I can't believe it, Jessica said, shaking her head. Marcus, after all these years, thank God you found this girl, Liam. She saved us. She smiled at Elena, a smile that looked like a shark baring its teeth. Elena didn't smile back. She was watching the code again. Something wasn't right. The log showing Marcus's name was too easy to find. It was sitting right on top, unencrypted. A coder smart enough to build a recursive logic trap doesn't leave their name tag on the crime scene, Elena thought. She looked at Jessica. Jessica's hand was in her pocket, clutching her phone tightly. Elena's phone buzzed in her own pocket. A text message. She pulled it out under the table. It was from an unknown number. Smart girl, you found the scapegoat. Now stop dragging or everyone knows who Elena Jensen really is. Elena's blood ran cold. She looked up. Jessica Vane was watching her, eyes gleaming with triumph. Liam, Elena started, her voice trembling. We did it, Liam said, grinning. He grabbed her hand and raised it. You're a hero. But Elena felt the vibration of the threat in her pocket. Marcus was innocent. Jessica was the mole. And Jessica knew Elena's secret identity. If Elena spoke up now, Jessica would reveal her past to the world. Elena would go to prison for the Nebula fraud she didn't commit. Yes, Elena lied, her voice hollow. It was Marcus. It's over. Jessica Vane stepped forward. Let's get back to work then. We have a launch to execute. As the room scrambled back to action, Jessica brushed past Elena. Welcome to the team, Elena, Jessica whispered. Play nice and I keep your secret. Cross me again and you go to jail. Elena stood frozen as the celebration raged around her. She had saved the company, but she had just sold her soul to the devil. The next few hours at Vertex Dynamics were a blur of frantic activity. The energy was electric, but for Elena it felt like she was trapped in a nightmare. She was hailed as a savior, but the taste in her mouth was bitter. She knew Marcus Thorne was a scapegoat and that Jessica Vane was pulling the strings, but she couldn't say a word. The threat of her past being exposed hung over her like a guillotine. Liam Blackwood, beaming with relief, insisted Elena remain by his side. Elena is our new guardian angel, he announced to the press, who had been informed the minor technical issue was resolved and the launch was back on. Her expertise proved invaluable. Elena offered a weak smile, acutely aware of Jessica Vane watching her from across the room, a smirk playing on her lips. Jessica seemed to bask in the chaos, confident in her victory. Throughout the morning, Elena was put to work hardening the system. She ran diagnostics, patched vulnerabilities, and secured firewalls, all while pretending to overlook the glaring inconsistencies in Marcus Thorne's confession from the logs. Every line of code she wrote felt like a betrayal. Around noon, while Liam was on a frantic video call with investors, Elena slipped away to a quiet corner. Feigning a need for coffee, she pulled out her phone, the burner phone, and typed quickly. Investigate Marcus Thorne, Vertex.io, recent financial activity, personal and professional connections. Focus on any links to Omnicorp. She sent the encrypted message to a contact she hadn't used in years, a shadowy figure from her past who specialized in digital forensics and discrete information gathering. His code name was Ghost. This is a dangerous game, Elena. A voice in her head warned her. Jessica knows who you are. What if Ghost makes a mistake? What if I do nothing, she countered. An innocent man goes to jail and a criminal runs free, and the entire Project Ether, potentially life-saving technology, could still be compromised. Her gaze drifted to the massive screens that displayed the Ether AI's interface. It was sleek, intuitive, and astonishingly powerful. The AI was designed to cross-reference patient data with global medical research, spotting patterns no human doctor could. Liam had shown her a simulation earlier, a child with a rare genetic disorder, misdiagnosed for years, finally getting the correct treatment path within seconds of Ether analyzing their genome. This wasn't just code, it was hope. And Jessica Vane, a woman driven by greed and ambition, was willing to burn it all down to take over. Later that afternoon, Liam pulled Elena aside. The board meeting is in an hour, he said, his voice dropping. Jessica has been making calls all morning, trying to rally support. She wants to use Marcus's betrayal as leverage to get the board to vote me out and put her in charge. Elena felt a chill. What about my deal? If I'm out, our deal is gone, Liam said. Jessica will bury you, and she'll certainly make sure your past is exposed. So what do we do? Elena asked, a newfound determination hardening her voice. Jessica always plays dirty. She thinks she's untouchable because she's a VP, and I'm just a visionary who needs a manager to run the company. But she underestimates you. and she underestimates me. I think she just underestimates your ability to read people, Elelenina muttered under her breath. Maybe, Liam conceded. But you see through the noise. That's what I need. I need you in that board meeting as my technical advisor. And if things go south, I need you to find something, anything that can stop her. Elelenina nodded slowly. This was it, the moment of truth. She had a choice: protect herself and let Jessica win, or risk everything to expose the truth and save Project Ether. I swore I wouldn't go back, she thought. But this isn't just about me anymore. The Vertex Dynamics boardroom was a brutal arena, all polished obsidian tables and unforgiving light. The atmosphere was thick with tension, heavy enough to cut with a knife. Liam Blackwood sat at the head of the table, looking calm despite the storm brewing around him. Ella Lenana sat to his right, her laptop open, fingers resting lightly on the keys. Across from them sat Jessica Vane, flanked by two corporate lawyers. The board members, a collection of stern-faced men and women in various stages of dismay, filled the remaining seats. Gentlemen, ladies, Jessica began, her voice smooth as silk but with an underlying steel. We are here today because of a grave breach of trust and a near-catastrophic failure of Project Ether. While we are grateful that the system was salvaged, we must address the root cause: Liam's reckless management and his inability to secure our intellectual property. Marcus Thorne has been arrested, Liam interjected, his voice firm. The breach was contained thanks to a Lelanena here. Jessica chuckled. Indeed, a timely intervention by a rather unvetted consultant. Which brings me to my point. Liam has, in his panic, brought an unknown individual into our most sensitive operations. An individual whose background is, shall we say, a complete blank slate. This is a severe security risk. She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at Elelenina. Who is this girl, Liam? Where did she come from? What are her credentials beyond a lucky guess at a restaurant? A ripple of murmuring went through the board. One of the older board members, a stern woman named Elelenina Vance, spoke up. Liam, Jessica has a point. We have fiduciary responsibilities. We need to know who we're dealing with. Elelenina is a gifted coder, Liam stated unflustered. She detected a sophisticated attack that Marcus, our CTO, perpetrated. Her actions speak for themselves. Marcus Thorne, a man who has been with Vertex since its inception, suddenly turns rogue, Jessica scoffed. Or perhaps, Liam, you're trying to deflect from your own failures. It is my belief that Marcus Thorne was merely a convenient scapegoat. The real mastermind is still at large, and Liam's refusal to acknowledge systemic vulnerabilities makes him unfit to lead. Elelenina felt a cold dread creep up her spine. Jessica was good. She was framing Liam, undermining his authority, and using Elelenina's ambiguous past as a weapon. I have already initiated a full internal audit, Liam countered, and I assure you Marcus Thorne's login was used for the data exfiltration. Used by whom? Jessica shot back. Marcus claims his credentials were stolen. He claims he was framed, and without a credible, verifiable expert to tell us otherwise, his claims hold weight. Liam, you simply took the easiest answer and ran with it. Jessica turned to the board. The only reason Liam hired this girl is because he needs a story, a simple, easy explanation for a complex problem that he created. He wants you to believe the waitress is a genius, so he doesn't have to admit he almost lost 100 million only because of his own negligence. The murmuring grew louder. Elelenina could feel the pressure. Jessica was winning. Elelenina's phone vibrated in her pocket. A message from Ghost. Found something. Check Marcus's phone records. Specifically calls to a burner number registered in a discrete corporate shell. Shell registered to J. Vane. Elelenina's eyes flickered to Jessica. Jessica's eyes were locked on Liam, a triumphant smirk forming. This is it, Elelenina thought. My one shot. Ms. Vane, Elelenina said, her voice cutting through the rising tension. Surprisingly clear and steady. Jessica turned, her eyebrows raised, a condescending look on her face. Yes, dear. Do you have something to add to this discussion about sophisticated corporate espionage, or are you just here to serve coffee? A few board members chuckled. I was just reviewing the network logs, Elelenina continued, ignoring the jibe. Specifically Marcus Thorne's phone records from the night of the incident. Jessica's smirk faltered slightly. What about them? They're hardly relevant to the coding error. They're relevant to his claims of being framed, Lelanina said, her fingers flying across her keyboard. On the large screen behind Liam, which had been displaying the Vertex logo, a new window popped up. It was a call log. At exactly 13 minutes before the malicious script was executed, Marcus Thorne received a call, Lelanina announced. The call lasted 3 minutes. It came from a burner phone, untraceable except for one detail. She hit another key. A small, almost invisible detail appeared on the screen next to the burner number. The phone was registered to a shell corporation, Lelanina said, her voice rising in confidence. A shell corporation discreetly managed by a legal firm specializing in offshore accounts. And that shell corporation, according to my colleague's deep dive, is owned by Jessica Vane. The room exploded. Jessica's face went from smug confidence to pure, unadulterated horror. She scrambled to her feet. "This is a lie," she shrieked, pointing at Lelanina. "This is slander. She's fabricating evidence. She's trying to frame me because I questioned her presence here." Liam Blackwood looked at the screen, then at Jessica. His face was cold, filled with betrayal. "A burner phone calling Marcus minutes before the breach," Liam said slowly. "A shell corporation linked directly to you. That's a little more than a coincidence, Jessica." "She's a hacker!" Jessica screamed, her composure completely gone. "This girl is a criminal. She belongs in prison." "No," Lelanina said, looking directly at Jessica. "I was framed, just like Marcus Thorne was framed. You used his credentials knowing the trace would lead back to him. You called him from a burner phone, pretending to be a concerned investor to distract him, just before you initiated the attack. You set up a logic trap in the code to burn the servers, creating a diversion while you siphoned off Project Ether's intellectual property to Omnicorp." She typed another command. On the screen, the trajectory of the exfiltrated data now highlighted the final unmasked IP address. "It wasn't Omnicorp's main server," Lelanina said. "It was a secure private server, a server with one known user, Silas Drake, CEO of Omnicorp, and also Jessica Vane's brother-in-law." The connection clicked into place with a sickening thud. Jessica's face crumpled. The confident VP was gone, replaced by a terrified woman. "You're working with your brother-in-law, Silas Drake, to steal our AI and destroy Vertex from the inside," Liam said, his voice deadly calm. "You wanted my job, and you wanted to deliver Project Ether to Omnicorp on a silver platter." Jessica started backing away. "This is all lies. She's a criminal. Don't believe anything she says." "Ray," Liam said, his gaze fixed on Jessica. "Call the FBI and alert the SEC. We have a corporate espionage case on our hands, and Jessica Vane is our prime suspect." Jessica made a break for the door, but Ray, the head of security, was already blocking her path. "You can't do this," Jessica shrieked. "You have no proof. My lawyers will bury you." "We have the call logs, Jessica," Lelanina said, her voice now filled with unwavering conviction. "We have the trace of the exfiltrated data, and we have your shell corporation. The FBI will connect the dots to Omnicorp and my previous case. With the evidence I found tonight, my lawyers can clear my name permanently." Jessica Vane was led away by security, her protests echoing down the hallway. Silence returned to the boardroom. The board members stared at Lelanina, their expressions a mix of awe and renewed suspicion. Liam looked at Lelanina, his eyes still holding a question. "Lelanina Jensen," he repeated softly. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want to drag you into my past," Lelanina confessed. "And because if I told you, you wouldn't have trusted me with your code. You wouldn't have let a convicted hacker anywhere near your systems." Lelanina Vance, the senior board member, cleared her throat. "Liam, we need to discuss the implications of Miss Jensen's past." Liam held up a hand. "Lelanina Jensen, or whatever name she uses, just saved this company from a multi-million-dollar corporate theft and identified the real saboteur. If her past is an issue, then the problem is with our perception, not with her abilities." He looked at Lelanina, a slow smile spreading across his face. Besides, I think a company focused on innovation should value talent over a clean record, especially when that record was tainted by someone else's scheme. Elena felt a warmth spread through her. For the first time in years, she felt seen. Not as a disgraced hacker, not as an invisible waitress, but as Nina Jensen, a brilliant coder, finally free. The immediate aftermath of the boardroom showdown was a controlled explosion. The FBI descended on Vertex Dynamics within the hour, collecting hard drives, phones, and seizing Jessica Vane's company laptop. Marcus Thorne, pale and shell-shocked, was released pending a full investigation, which quickly cleared his name using the evidence Elena provided. The launch of Project Ether, delayed by only hours, was the most successful event in Vertex Dynamics' history. Liam Blackwood stood on the stage delivering a powerful speech, but his eyes kept finding Elena, who was stationed in the back monitoring the system stability. When Ether successfully processed a complex data set in under 2 seconds, a feat only made possible by Elena's kernel optimization, the audience erupted. Days turned into weeks. Elena Jensen's life was unrecognizable. Her first act was securing a top-tier legal team with the $500,000 advance. With the evidence of Jessica Vane's corporate espionage, which included accessing the same offshore accounts and burner communication used in the old Nebula framing, Elena's defense team proved conclusively that she had been framed by a rival competitor who had since been acquired by Omnicorp. The charges were formally dropped. Elena Jensen was officially exonerated. Liam Blackwood, meanwhile, faced the press about hiring a disgraced hacker. He handled it with characteristic defiance. Elena Jensen is not a disgraced hacker, Liam stated during a major press conference. She is a brilliant engineer who was wrongly accused, and she is a victim of the very corporate malice that almost destroyed our company. I hired her because I value truth and talent. If the industry wants to stick to tired old rules, they can. We're building the future. The support from the tech community was swift and overwhelmingly positive. Elena Jensen became a symbol of redemption and the fight against corporate corruption. Liam, solidifying his control over Vertex, made a move that stunned the entire industry. He announced the creation of a new role, Chief Innovation Officer. At the official press gala to celebrate the success of Project Ether, Liam stood before the world's media. For the past few weeks, our company has been relying on one person to stabilize our most critical systems, Liam announced, looking straight at Elena, who was standing nervously near the bar. She is the sharpest mind I have ever encountered. She fixed a problem that cost us $100 million in the time it takes to pour a cup of coffee. And she risked her freedom to expose corruption and save not just this company, but the medical advancements that Project Ether promises. He walked over to Elena and offered her his hand. Elena Jensen, Liam said, his voice ringing with sincerity. I offer you the role of Chief Innovation Officer of Vertex Dynamics. You will report directly to me, and you will have full control over all future AI and product development. Your mission is simple. Keep building the future you want to see. Elena's eyes welled up. This wasn't just a job offer. It was the world giving her back her life. And Liam added with a mischievous grin, as a signing bonus, that first $500,000 is now yours, debt-free, and I'm quadrupling your salary. Elena stepped up to the microphone, her hands shaking slightly, but her eyes bright. She was no longer the invisible girl at table 4. She was Elena Jensen, Chino. Thank you, Liam, she said simply. I accept. The company erupted in applause. The cameras flashed, capturing the image of the young CEO and the brilliant new Sino, the waitress who fixed a billion-dollar problem in seconds, standing together, symbolizing a new era for Vertex Dynamics. As for Jessica Vane, she was charged with corporate espionage, conspiracy, and several counts of wire fraud. Her brother-in-law, Silas Drake of Omnicorp, was also implicated, leading to a massive federal investigation that exposed a vast network of corporate spying and intellectual property theft, ultimately crippling Omnicorp. Jessica Vane went from the executive penthouse to a jail cell. Elena sat in her sleek new office on the top floor of Vertex Dynamics, looking out over the city. She had bought her own apartment, a beautiful, quiet space. She still kept the worn-out black vest from Le Jardin hanging on a hook in her closet, a quiet reminder of how far she had come. A ping sounded on her terminal. Liam's picture popped up. Liam, dinner tonight? Not at Le Jardin, and no more martinis. We have the world to change, and I need a clear head. Ella Nena agreed. But I'll take a Diet Coke, and I'm bringing my own laptop just in case. She smiled, closed her terminal, and walked out of her office. The invisible girl was gone. Ella Lenena Jensen had arrived, and that is how a life-or-death crisis revealed the ultimate truth. That genius doesn't wear a designer suit. Sometimes it wears a waiter's apron. Ella Lenena Jensen proved that expertise is never tied to a title, and that the biggest threats often come from the people we trust the most. She didn't just save a company. She proved that redemption is possible, and that integrity, even when it costs you everything, is the ultimate power move. But this isn't just a story about code. It's a story about fighting back, uncovering the real enemy, and stepping into the brilliance you were always meant to be. If Alela Nena's incredible journey from serving tables to running one of the world's most innovative tech companies stunned you, hit the like button. What would you have done if you were in Alela Nena's position? Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs a reminder that they are capable of fixing even the biggest problems. In the breathtaking story of Alela Nena Jensen, a brilliant coder forced into hiding as a humble waitress, who risked everything to expose corporate betrayal and reclaim her destiny, we uncover a profoundly emotional life lesson. True genius and worth are never defined by titles, appearances, or past mistakes, but by the courage to use your gifts when the world needs them most. Alela Nena could have stayed silent, protecting her fragile anonymity, while a ruthless scheme destroyed lives and dreams. Instead, with trembling hands and a heart full of old wounds, she stepped into the light, fixing a catastrophic crisis in seconds, unmasking corruption, and saving not just a company, but the hope of countless patients awaiting breakthrough medical AI. Her journey from invisible server to chief innovation officer reminds us that we've all felt buried by failures, judgments, or circumstances that tried to erase our potential. Yet Alela Nena teaches us that redemption blooms when we trust our inner expertise, speak truth despite fear, and refuse to let others' lies dim our light. In a world quick to judge the waitress and crown the corrupt, her triumph proves that one person's quiet brilliance and unbreakable integrity can rewrite history and heal deep scars. If Alela Nena's awe-inspiring rise from hidden genius to corporate savior left you inspired, tearful, or believing in second chances again, smash that like button. It helps these stories of courage and redemption reach more souls who need them. What moved you most? Her split-second decision to intervene, the thrill of exposing the real villain, or her beautiful redemption? Would you have risked everything like Alela Nena did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing your stories. And if you're ready for more gripping tales of hidden heroes, corporate drama, and life-changing triumphs, subscribe now and tap the bell icon. You won't want to miss next week's jaw-dropping story of bravery and justice. Thank you for watching. See you soon.